Have you ever picked up your kitchen sponge to wash a plate and thought, this thing smells a little weird? Maybe you squeeze it, rinse it, use a bit more soap, and then you keep using it anyway, because that cleans things, right? But here's the uncomfortable question no one really wants to ask. What if the thing you use to clean your dishes is actually one of the dirtiest things in your entire house? Dirtier than your toilet. Yeah, that sounds ridiculous. After all, toilets are where all the germs live. That's the obvious answer. That's what we've been taught. But here's the strange part. Scientists have actually tested this, and what they found flips that belief completely upside down. Your kitchen sponge can hold millions, sometimes billions, of bacteria, not just a few germs. We're talking about a dense, living ecosystem, packed into something you hold in your hand. That explanation sounds shocking until you look closer. Because when you really think about it, something doesn't quite add up. If your sponge is covered in soap and constantly used with water, shouldn't it be one of the cleanest things in your home? So why does it turn into a bacterial hotspot? Today, we're uncovering the surprising truth behind why your kitchen sponge is dirtier than your toilet and what's really happening inside it every time you use it. Most people believe something simple. Soap kills germs. So if you're washing dishes with a soapy sponge, you're basically killing bacteria as you clean. It feels logical, comforting even. But here's the twist. Soap doesn't actually kill most bacteria. At least, not in the way you probably think. Soap's main job is to loosen dirt and oils so they can be rinsed away with water. It's more like a transporter than a killer. So when you're scrubbing your plate, your sponge isn't destroying bacteria. It's collecting them. Over and over again. Every plate, every pan, every leftover food particle. Each one adds more microscopic life to the sponge. And unlike your toilet, your sponge offers something bacteria love. The perfect home. Think about it. A sponge is full of tiny holes and pockets. It traps moisture. It holds bits of food. It stays at room temperature. Now imagine you're a bacterium. Where would you rather live? On a smooth, cold toilet surface that gets flushed and cleaned regularly? Or inside a warm, damp sponge filled with food? It's not even a contest. To bacteria, your sponge is basically a five-star hotel. And once they move in, they multiply fast. Really fast. Under the right conditions, a single bacterium can double in number every 20 minutes. That means in just a few hours, you don't have thousands. You have millions. And inside a sponge, there are thousands of tiny spaces where these bacteria can grow undisturbed. It's not just crowded. It's thriving. But here's where it gets even more unsettling. The bacteria inside your sponge aren't just random. Some of them come from raw meat. Others come from vegetables, your hands, even tiny traces of things you'd rather not think about. Every time you wipe a surface or clean a plate, you're transferring new microbes into that sponge. And instead of being washed away, many of them stay. Now compare that to your toilet. It sounds gross, but toilets are actually cleaned far more aggressively. People use disinfectants, bleach, strong cleaning agents designed specifically to kill bacteria. And toilets are usually dry between uses. That's a key detail, because bacteria struggle to grow without moisture. Your sponge, on the other hand, rarely gets that break. It stays damp, sometimes for hours or even days, which means bacteria never really stop multiplying. But here's something even stranger. You might think, okay, I'll just clean the sponge. Maybe you microwave it, or soak it in hot water, or run it through the dishwasher. Problem solved, right? Not exactly. Because even when you try to clean a sponge, something unexpected happens. The weaker bacteria die off first, but the tougher ones, they survive. And now, they have less competition, so they multiply even faster. It's like accidentally creating a super team of bacteria that are harder to kill. So instead of fixing the problem, you might actually be making it worse. And this raises a bigger question. If sponges are so good at collecting bacteria, why were they designed this way in the first place? Why do we use something that seems almost perfect for growing germs? To answer that, we have to look at what a sponge is really designed to do. Because the very thing that makes it great at cleaning is exactly what makes it terrible for hygiene. A sponge is built to absorb. That's its superpower. Those tiny holes and pores act like a network of tunnels, pulling in water and trapping particles. It's incredibly effective at picking up dirt. But it doesn't just pick up dirt. It picks up everything, including microscopic life. And once that life gets inside, it's protected, hidden deep in the sponge's structure where rinsing can't fully reach. It's like trying to clean a maze by spraying water at the entrance. You might wash away some of what's near the surface, but deep inside, things remain untouched. And that's why, over time, your sponge becomes less of a cleaning tool and more of a bacterial reservoir, a place where microbes don't just survive. They settle in, grow, and spread. So every time you wipe a plate or a countertop, you might not just be cleaning it. You might be redistributing bacteria across the surface, which sounds alarming. But it leads to an even more interesting question. If this is happening in kitchens all over the world, why aren't people constantly getting sick from their sponges? That's where the story takes another surprising turn. Because despite everything we've just uncovered, most of the time, nothing bad actually happens. You don't use a sponge once and suddenly get sick. You don't wash a plate and immediately feel the consequences. So what's going on? If sponges are so packed with bacteria, why aren't they more dangerous? The answer lies in something quietly protecting you every single day. Your immune system. Your body is constantly dealing with bacteria, not just from sponges, but from the air, your food, your phone, even your own skin. In fact, you're already covered in microbes right now, trillions of them, and most of them are harmless. Some are even helpful. So when a few bacteria from a sponge end up on your plate, your body usually handles it without you even noticing. It's like a silent battle that your body wins almost every time. But here's the catch. Not all bacteria are harmless. Some can cause illness. And when a sponge becomes heavily contaminated, the chances of those harmful microbes being present start to increase, especially if raw meat is involved, or if the sponge is used for multiple surfaces, or if it's been sitting damp for days. Suddenly, it's not just a harmless microbial crowd anymore. It's a risky one. And this is where everyday habits start to matter more than you think. Because most people don't use just one sponge for everything. Well, actually they do. The same sponge that washes plates, wipes the kitchen counter, cleans spills, and sometimes even touches areas where raw food was prepared. Without realizing it, that sponge becomes a transfer tool, moving bacteria from one place to another, from raw chicken to your countertop, from the countertop to your dishes, from your dishes back into your body. It's a cycle, and once you see it, it's hard to unsee. But here's something even more fascinating. This isn't just a household problem. It's happening everywhere. In restaurants, in kitchens across the world, anywhere sponges are used. And scientists have studied this closely. In some studies, researchers found that kitchen sponges can contain more bacteria than almost any other item in the home. More than your phone, more than your sink, even more than your toilet seat. Which sounds shocking until you remember the environment. Warm, wet, full of food. It's the perfect breeding ground. But this global pattern reveals something deeper. It shows how easily we misunderstand cleanliness. We tend to judge what's clean by how it looks. If something looks dirty, we clean it. If it looks fine, we assume it's safe. But bacteria don't care about appearances. A shiny plate can still carry microbes, and a sponge that looks okay can be overflowing with them. It's an invisible world operating by completely different rules. And once you understand those rules, your perspective shifts. You start to see your kitchen differently, not as a perfectly clean space, but as a place where cleanliness needs to be managed carefully. So let's return to the original question. Why is your kitchen sponge dirtier than your toilet? Because your toilet is exposed, cleaned aggressively, and left dry, while your sponge is hidden, constantly fed, and kept moist. One is a hostile environment for bacteria. The other is a paradise. And that difference changes everything. But here's the most important part. This doesn't mean your kitchen is dangerous. It just means your habits matter more than you think. Simple changes can make a big difference. Replacing your sponge regularly. Letting it dry completely between uses. Using different tools for different tasks. Even switching to alternatives like brushes that dry faster. These small shifts break the cycle. They turn your sponge back into what it's supposed to be. A cleaning tool, not a bacterial home. And maybe that's the most surprising lesson of all. The dirtiest things in our lives aren't always the ones we expect. They're often the ones we trust the most. The ones we use every day without thinking twice. It's a reminder that even the most ordinary objects, like a simple kitchen sponge, can hide an entire invisible world. A world that's busy, alive, and constantly interacting with you, whether you notice it or not. So the next time you pick up your sponge, you might pause for a second, not in fear, but in awareness, because now you know what's really there. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. If you enjoyed this and want to uncover more hidden truths behind everyday things, drop your questions in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe, because the most ordinary things often have the most extraordinary stories hiding inside them.